Right, guys, I wanted to discuss whether or not Solskjaer deserves the job on a full-time basis come the end of the season. The race for the top four is really getting exciting for a neutral, or if you're a United fan, you're loving it because about 2 months ago you weren't really in the conversation. Right, so Man United are currently sitting in fourth place on 51 points, with Arsenal and Chelsea in fifth and sixth on 50 points. I think Solskjaer personally has done an amazing job. I think he won 8 games on the bounce. Now, if I was to counteract that and be a little bit critical, I would say the teams that he won against, all of the teams in the top six also won those games in the reverse fixtures. Not to say that's an easy feat what he's done. I'm not taking anything away because any team could slip up at any point at any given time. So, like, for example, as you know, I'm a Liverpool fan. Not many people expected us to drop points to Leicester and West Ham back to back, but here we are, it's happened, and it just goes to show you can't take anything for granted. Now, going into those games, there was a bit of nervousness around Liverpool, and you could say it's because they're going for the title and whatever, but I think now that United are becoming a part of that conversation, I think what's most interesting here is that everyone's going to be watching the game on Sunday, not just because it's Liverpool and United, but I think more so the fact that everybody in the top six is going to be affected for obvious reasons. Now, if you're a Tottenham or City fan, you're going to want United to win. If you're an Arsenal or Chelsea fan, you're going to want Liverpool to win. And I think this result is going to go a long way for Liverpool and for United, depending on the outcome. And the reasons I say that it might be pretty obvious, but I do feel like if United were to get a result against us, which they're perfectly capable of doing because they have an amazing squad. I did a video earlier today whereby I said that I think Martial and Jesse Lingard will be fit. I think at least one of them will start and one will be on the bench because of the whole mind games going into it and the lift it can give your fans when the sheet is getting read out and it's announced. It creates a bit of a buzz and excitement. And to be fair, look, they're an amazing attacking team. Going on to Solskjaer and why I think he probably does deserve the job. I mean, I'll have to reserve my judgment until the end of the season. I think he's just done the basics right. And unfortunately, I think Mourinho and even to some extent Guardiola, they're very stubborn, and maybe look, they have a right to do so because of what they've won and achieved in the game. But I just feel like Mourinho it's just silly little things that everybody could see from a distance. Like, you've got to put your arm around these players and just let them play with a bit of freedom and go and express yourself. I mean, football is a game to be enjoyed. Like, I do feel like football should be played in a certain way. I'm not just saying that because that's what Klopp says. I would like to be enjoyed. I mean, the game to be enjoyed as I'm watching it, should I say. Now, ultimately, it does come down to winning trophies. And if you said to me we had to play very boring Mourinho-like football to get my hands in the Premier League, any Liverpool fan who says no, they'll be lying to you because we are desperate for a Premier League title. However, I think it gets to a certain stage whereby, do you know what, we have to admit that, these clubs, even going to a basic Premier League game in this day and age, it can cost a lot of money. And a lot of people probably pay a lot more than they can actually afford to. It's because they have that love and that passion for their club, which is why they don't mind doing it. And I feel for that your club should be playing in a certain way that makes you feel like you're getting the most enjoyment and the most value for money. But equally, if you're happy for your team to play a certain way, which doesn't have to be all-out attack, and they're winning, the main thing is that you're happy with your club, because at the end of the day, it's your money and you're entitled to your opinion, which is completely fine. But going back to Solskjaer now, I just feel like to be honest with you, he's made Man United pretty exciting to watch. Like I said, I mean, there is that rivalry there between Liverpool and United, obviously amongst the fans. But sometimes I do like to just take a back seat and just give credit where credit is due, because, at the end of the day, without United being as big as they are, that rivalry wouldn't even exist, which puts its own spin of excitement on it, if you like. So I can still kind of appreciate and respect what they've done. And I still like the fact that this is, no matter what people say, and whether it's Chelsea being on the run for 4 or 5 years or City, I still think this is the biggest game in English football. And it is going to be the biggest rivalry in England for the next at least 10, 15 years, I would say. But yeah, like I said, tactically, Mourinho is fantastic, but I think the way he used to manage the team and little things, he's just getting completely wrong. I know certain people have written Pogba off. I mean, when he first came to United, I thought, you know what, come back to United. But I wasn't really sure what to expect. I mean, under Mourinho, I thought he would actually do pretty well. I couldn't really see it not working out, but they've made some very strange signings in the past. I know I'm getting a bit off topic here, but the team just looked very unbalanced. And I think what Solskjaer has done very well, he's basically said to them, like, look, whatever's happened under Mourinho, and for those that have still been there through the Van Gaal era and through Moyes, he's basically just said, look, guys, to me, it feels like he said, just go and express yourself, have fun, show me what you can do, and earn the right to have that badge on your chest and just play your heart out. Now, going back to my previous point where I said that he hasn't really played anyone of a decent caliber. I mean, look, here's my criticism with when they play Tottenham. I just don't feel like Tottenham are that kind of team that, I'm not going to say they bottle it because that would be a little bit harsh, but I just don't feel like Tottenham stepped up enough in that game, personally. And I know everyone was singing De Gea's praises. Again, if I was to be critical, I'm not going to debate that he's not the best goalkeeper in the world, because I think he is. And he's, to be as good as I think he is, you have to prove that consistently over a number of years. Yeah, he might have had a bad few months, but the way he's played over the last 5 years, or 4 or 5 years, should I say, I think he's earned the right to have a few months where he's not played that great, considering the defence in front of him has not always been, fantastic. And certain keepers, and I'm not going to name drop anyone in particular because I don't have one in mind, but when you have 2 great centre-backs in front of you, I think you're as a keeper, you can afford to be, you don't have to be world-class, but you can look world-class because the protection is there in front of you. Now, on that note, I still think De Gea and Pogba are, the main men, but I just feel like it's almost like a breath of fresh air around Old Trafford. Like, they seem to be really buzzing for this game. However, when they played PSG, I feel like that was their first big real test. And people can say, domestically they're doing fine, but they didn't do it in Europe. Like, I don't really understand that logic, if I'm honest with you. Personally, I feel like they were just beaten by a better team, which is not bad. It's not a bad excuse because PSG are, fantastic. And I still think Man United have a slim chance. It is unlikely, very unlikely, but, you've got nothing to lose. But if United want to concentrate, if they want to concentrate on the league, then again, that's perfectly fine. And I know they said they've beaten Chelsea, but I'm not being funny. Bournemouth beat Chelsea. They're in a really bad way at the moment. And I think Chelsea have just qualified for the next round of the Europa League as I'm saying this. And I think Sarri has just come out talking about his future and he's being linked away already. And it's not a good sign for him. And I think he made a comment about Kante saying that he can't play CDM role because he can't move the ball quick enough, which is probably the most bizarre thing I've heard in 2019. But anyway, I think this game on Sunday is going to go a long way to determine where Solskjaer is going to end up where he's going to end up at the end of the season. My gut feeling is that he probably, it's so hard to say, to be honest with you, because I haven't even pre-rehearsed this or anything. So I think I'm going to go with my gut feeling. I'm going to say that, he's going to get the job. When things go wrong in football, the easiest thing to do is keep throwing money at it. But what he's done with that team, it's nothing short of, it's been quite incredible, to be honest with you. And now, to be honest, I think there are a couple of managers who I think they could have done that, because I don't think it's been a tactical masterclass. It's just getting the simple things right, which I feel like managers, when they win trophies, they develop a bit of an ego and they can forget to do the simple things like that. I mean, it's nice to just have someone put their arm around you and just say, listen, man, I know you're great. Just go and do your thing on the pitch, express yourself, get the fans behind you. And when you play that attacking brand of football that United have been, renowned for playing over the last 15, 20 years, when they've pretty much won everything in sight and ruined my childhood, to be frank. But that's, you play a certain way, you get the crowd behind you, you get them, whip them balls in, they've always had someone on the end of it. That's how I've always remembered United playing. I think they've got a little bit of a way to go. And again, I've tried being pretty fair to them and being unbiased as a Liverpool fan. But what I would personally do, I would give Solskjaer, regardless of what happens, I would just give him one summer there. Let him bring one or two players in and let's see how he does. But I don't think they should. What they've done in the last few years is what Liverpool used to do. They used to bring in a handful of players and just see what works. In my opinion, they're better off bringing in a select 2 or 3 or maybe even 2 big signings and see where they end up from there. But I don't have too much more to say on the matter because there's a big game coming up on the weekend. So I might be saying something different on Monday, but I think regardless of what happens, I think he deserves the job. Whether or not he'll actually get it, we'll find out. And I think we'll have a clearer picture in about a month's time because I think they've got quite a few hard games coming, if I'm not mistaken. I think they've got Wolves away. They're playing Palace. I don't know if that's home or away, if I'm honest. PSG's coming up. And the City game, from what I understand, was pushed back to April due to an FA Cup replay. But, I think the obvious candidate, aside from Solskjaer, it would be Pochettino. Now, in my mind, that would be just as bad if you're a neutral because you can imagine him doing a great job there as well. He's not had the biggest transfer budget in the world, and I can't see Tottenham having one for the next couple of years because we've seen the effects of a new stadium and what it can do. I mean, prime example, look at the Emirates. Now, you could say that's bad ownership, but there's no doubt there you do incur some heavy costs when you implement a new stadium and, all that sort of stuff, which is understandable. So the real question is Pochettino going to really turn up this opportunity? Because how often do these sort of opportunities come up for a manager? It remains to be seen. But on the balance of everything, as I said, I would give him the job. I think he's done fantastic. We'll have a clearer picture of what's going to happen at the end of this weekend, because I do feel like if they were to beat us, that is going to be a huge statement. And not only will it shake things up in the league, I think it's going to give Man United a lot of steam to carry on throughout the rest of the season with almost like a little form of arrogance. It's going to be a huge resurgence, if I'm honest with you. That confidence it will give them, I can see them putting a run together after this, another one after that little blip they had against PSG. You could argue that if Martial and Lingard didn't go off, it possibly may have been a different game in the second half. But again, ifs and buts in football, you can't really say. But I'm going to wrap it up with this. I'll do another video on Monday, and I'm going to try and have a United fan on here because you're probably getting bored of just listening to my voice, non-stop talking to myself. So I'll get a United fan on here next just to discuss the issues, because no doubt they're going to know a lot more about their club than I will. And especially this season, if I'm honest with you, I've had eyes on Man City since probably middle of August. So the whole season I've just been concentrating on that. I haven't really paid too much attention to what's going on. I've heard a couple of little interviews here and there from Mourinho, which, if I'm honest with you, I did find it quite funny at the time. But, any little excuse to take a pop at Man United, I won't completely resist. I've got to admit, I can be a bit of a hater sometimes. But likewise, it's reciprocated. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening again. And like I said, if you guys have any other videos you'd like me to shoot, please give me a shout. As I said, I will get a United fan on it next. I've already spoke to an Arsenal fan, my mate Jerome, who I've mentioned to yourselves before. He'll be on here soon as well. And I'm going to try creating something a little bit different and a bit more organic, because I really like what these other channels are doing. Ball Street, Red Men TV. There's loads of people out there now, and I feel like this is going to be the future of the football community, because again, I'm going into a separate video, but I don't really like this whole BT Sport package you need and the Sky Sports package you need. And I just feel like everyone is just, as football fans, we're just getting fleeced, and I don't really think it's right. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you guys real soon.